don't say yes to bad business. Just know your avatar, know your client, know your values. The minute someone said, well, it's not worth X, Y, and Z dollars. And I'm like, okay, you know what you just told me? You just told me that I'm not worth the money that you're paying. She's like, no, but I'm paying I'm like, you're paying me too. Mm-hmm. And so that tells me that we're not on the same
page.
Level.
Real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward.
Welcome back to another episode of the Real Business Owners Podcast with myself, Trevor Cowley, as usual, Kale Goodman.
What's up?
Hey, we have one of our mastermind favorites. You know, I know our mastermind members are going to hear this and they're going to be like, hey, you said that about me. You're A, but let's be real. You're moving up the list very, very rapidly. So we've got Scott Rammage on the podcast, and this individual, we've actually started doing business recently together, and it's been smooth as butter out of a microwave. I'll tell you that much. Like, smooth. I just came up with that just off the top. I'm like, hey, I got to acknowledge me for a second because I was trying to, well, like I'm talking about at the perfect time. I didn't say the times. Now, if it's a minute, then we're running all over the place. But, a 10-second hit, in the microwave, it'll just cut like this. It was smooth. Such a smooth process. Scott, tell them a little bit about what it is that you do first and foremost, because I'll probably butcher it. I know a lot of people call it VA. Now we're talking about VPs, and
I'm trying to change the name.
Yeah.
So we started
change the industry more like it.
Yeah, really trying to change that. We place virtual professionals with individuals or businesses. Almost all of them own businesses. Yeah. And we're really working on raising the lid on what the expectation of a virtual assistant is. Mm-hmm. An assistant kind of implies that they're doing basic things. They're doing really low level things.
Answering an email.
Right. And but we're looking for somebody that'll answer an email and won't need a script because they're that good, because they know you that well. And then they also take it to the next level and the next level. And then we have, engineers, like literally engineers placed and saving engineering companies tons of money, and drafters and, content creators, video editors, very high level. So we're kind of trying to move to that VP, virtual professional status. And so
instead of saying an assistant, assistant kind of has a bad, basically saying, hey, as an assistant, you're only assisting in these minor things, when in reality, these virtual professionals are doing major things and moving the needle for businesses. Right?
Yeah. And we're implementing things like, just assessments that, like, I'll ask a client, are you an integrator or a visionary? And they're like, what do you mean? We'll give them assessments and say, okay, do you want someone like you to like kind of run with you and kind of do
side
what you
side,
do? Or need someone on the opposite spectrum doing the things that you're not good at? So we're taking behavioral data and some really cool tools to make those placements, and it's working really well. It has been working really well, and I've seen, I have 19 full time for me, virtual professionals, and I still have my very first hire. And to watch this thing evolve over time and what it's done for my company, I'm so passionate about allowing other people to get to that place. And not everyone can have the same setup I have, but I literally had this conversation with my wife, and I had it with my executive assistant. She's kind of my ops person as well. I said, here's what I have to have. If I die today, the business continues to go. Mm-hmm. It continues to run. My wife can call you up and say, what do I need to do? She'll log into the financials, take care of that. Everything else is taken care of. And so that's the level of trust and leverage that I've used, because that can literally happen today. Yeah. And I really love that. So I'm like, you'll have to hire a salesperson. Like, don't get me wrong, but that's true freedom, right? I love working. I'll never stop working.
I don't know.
That's true freedom.
The guy that you hooked us up with, I think he could be a sales guy too. I don't know.
Oh, no. You could do sales too. Absolutely.
I thought you were saying everything but
no, for
sales.
my business, because I'm doing all the sales right now. So we'd have to hire someone to do the sales. But no, we have guys out there crushing it, doing cold calling of all things. I just read a post last week. Someone's like, I need a cold caller, appointment setter. And all these comments were, don't hire a VA, don't hire a VA, don't hire a VA. And in the same week, I got a text from one of my clients like, our guy is crushing. He's booking appointments every single week. He's cold calling government offices and churches for roofing. And he's booking appointments every single week. And our ROI on him is through the roof. And I'm like, it just, like, there's so many business owners have heard all the horror stories of the like really low level virtual assistant, the newbie. And then they're not familiar with the fact that there's folks out there that have been doing this for 5, 6, 7, 8 years and can come and take a basic script and just go crazy with it and just crush it. So
I would say we've had our own experiences with VA services that just weren't productive at all, you know, but it's like you can't prejudge everything from that point on. You know what I mean? Like you have to try again. If it's a need that can really help your business, it's like you just need the right person, right? And so, I mean, how much of that do you do? Like obviously people have their own niches and they have their own, you know, scripts or sales processes. And so like, how hard is that to find a VA or VP that's like, this is your guy. He's good at all these things and you've already vetted him and know him. Like there's probably gotta be a lot that goes into that.
There's a lot that goes into it. And you know, we're not your basic service where we just find someone and just say, see you later. Right. Like that is not how we operate at all. But we don't have like a pool of virtual professionals sitting there waiting for a job. That's not how we operate. So when we talk to you guys, it's like, exactly what are you looking for? What are the roles that you need? And kind of going into the steps of it, like, this is what I need. These are the things I'm kind of thinking about. And we go recruit specifically for those. And we're looking for people that with proven track record. Yeah. And so some people will be, I need someone to do this role. I just don't know how to do it. And then at that point, we're looking for a very specific personality of someone who's like going to come in and actually just develop that for them. Yeah. And this is people like, what? I'm like, yeah, like let's get someone with experience who's actually done this. And maybe they've led a team in doing this. They've trained. So we'll find someone who's trained in that. They're trained themselves. They've done it long enough. They become a trainer. And then we've seen this happen where they come in and they take over that department or that role and they elevate it. And then they start hiring, because we offer multiple hires. We don't nickel and dime our clients. We're like, hey, you need another one. We're going to go find you another one. And they hire for them. So now your VP's running other VPs. So you can build a whole department. I have a client who's built 2 verticals onto his business, a marketing vertical off of that, and an admin vertical for he's in a franchise and he's selling his admin services to all the other franchisees in the United States. Nice. And so he just took, you know, SOPs are important. We could talk about that, but he took the SOPs they developed and these people we placed in him, and he's like, hey, I can do that for you. And then he had them lead the new people. And so we just keep stacking more and more people in his business. And he's built 2 completely new verticals on his business. Yeah. So it's been pretty rad to watch.
That's way cool.
I mean, how I look at it is, as you were explaining it, I look at it as in, it's almost like a recruiting agent. You know, when people in the United States look for recruiters, like high-end recruiters, like, you know, we get hit up with recruiters all the time saying, hey, you guys have an ad out on Indeed. You guys want CPAs, right? And they charge whatever, 10, 20% of whatever their annual salary is. So if, for instance, somebody's making $100,000 a year, you could pay somebody $15,000 to $20,000 just to go out there and recruit this individual to come work for your company, right? Because you may have not had high success with some of the hires that you've made yourself, right? Right. They have a system or a process or some sort of vetting that they do that makes sure that they're higher caliber, and it ends up, you know, costing you a pretty penny, but at the exact same time, it costs you a pretty penny to go through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different hires through the training. This, you know, that whole process is stress, is headache, is expensive, you know, all of that. And so, like, as you're sitting there saying, yeah, we go out and we look very specific. Like, here's the deal. I mean, I could vouch for 100% of what Scott's saying, because 1, skeptic. Kale knows I'm a big skeptic with just about anything that's new or change or different. It takes me a minute to like wrap my head around it and say, okay, like let's try this thing. Let's do it. Right. And I'm like, you know, VA, like there's no possible way. I almost look at it like this, like a cell phone plan from Walmart. Why don't you have that? Because it's $39. Because you just really don't think that you're going to get that great of a service. So we would rather pay Verizon or AT&T or whatever, the $150 a month versus the whatever phones that Walmart has, right? So you think that because it's a little bit less, you're going to receive less. And I'm not saying, you know, Scott's team is going to be the absolute cheapest on the market, but at the end of the day, I will say, and I can vouch for him, Fred, our guy, you know, I already said, like today when you came in, I'm like, yo, like I want to reward him already. And he's only been, you know, with us for a week, 2 weeks, something, I think. 2 weeks, something like that. And we didn't even get rolling with him on week one. He was so good in his interview and the video that he created for us. I asked Cory, I said, did you watch those 3 videos? I said, I want you to tell me which one that you think is best. And then I'll tell you which one I think, because I already was like, dude, Fred, I just want to see if he was on the same, you know, wavelength as me in that. He's like, dude, Fred, no doubt. And I was like, okay, so we're on the same page about this guy. And we weren't quite ready because we were moving into this office trying to get this thing built out. And we didn't want to just have him sit around for a week, but we're like, dude, we want this guy. Like, how do we retain him? And even if we have to pay him for a week, just so that he doesn't go get recruited somewhere else. And I'll tell you what, like he's been doing a lot of work in the last week. And the cool thing about it is we have a computer set up right behind my computer where he has like, what do they call that? Remote access?
He remotes into your computer.
He remotes in, so we don't have to give him any of our username and passwords. We literally just log in on that computer to our Instagram or whatever it is. And we have all of these messages that he's pulling in leads, he's doing all this stuff, and we've got the whole flow set up. And like, as Cory alluded to, Cory's our right-hand guy here at RBO. Some of you guys know him because he's been on the podcast. But even Cory said Fred hit him up and said, hey man, is it okay if I start, you know, making some sales here for you guys, you know, or whatever? Like,
let's go.
We're like, oh my God, like, holy shit, like, fuck, just take over the company, dude. Just, do you have any friends, family members, cousins, uncles? Like, but we were here late last night and I was telling Cory, I was like, man, Fred's just amazing. Cory's like, dude, I've worked with hundreds of VAs. And he's like, dude, this guy's like unlike any other VA I've ever worked with. And I said, dude, based upon what he's doing, I wouldn't be surprised if we have another one within the next 2 or 3 months. And so doing other things, because he's just, like even the header for, you know, Real Business Owners is turning into its own business, right? Before it's been hanging on, you know, mama's tit, Easier Accounting for all these years, right? And so, but this is why we're in a new office and a new podcast, and we're treating it like it's its own business. So it's kind of like a startup, but like even the email, like Trevor at Real Business Owners now, right? We needed a header thing at the bottom. And so Cory's like, hey, get a header. He puts 5 different templates together because he's going on the internet, stealing other people's headers off of their stuff. And it's like, here's these 5 examples. You tell me which one that you want to create. Right. And so it's like,
so nice.
Like, and when you're neck deep in actual shit in your business, and that's just like this thing that needs to be done. Like, it's just kind of like, fuck, I know I need to go do that thing, but like, there's so many other things.
You got to stop and do it.
You got to stop and do it. But when you're like, it was like,
but finding any employee, whether they're overseas, whether they're outsourced or not, that takes initiative is really freaking hard to find, dude. And so if you're finding that over and over and over again, you obviously have a model that's breeding the right type of person to take initiative for people. Because
it is something we look for, and we don't nail it every time.
Yeah.
And
that's impossible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're getting better and better and better and better. Yeah. Every rep makes us better. Usually it's more of like the client wasn't real specific in what they wanted, and we get the first one, they're like, you want to pivot this way. And so that's one of the services we do. It's not one and done. It's, if this is not working,
let's figure it out.
And usually I'm telling the client first, they're hey, I got this thing. I'm like, wait. All right, let's have a talk and make sure this is the right person. And they're usually wanting to hang on. I'm like, nope, we're moving on. We're getting someone new.
Yeah.
Because you don't always nail it the first time. But the thing is when you kind of understand that we're tapping into a workforce that is making probably, we pay very well.
Yeah.
They're making triple what they could elsewhere in country.
Yeah.
Not to mention that in the more metro areas, getting to work is literally a 1 to 4 hour endeavor one way. The Philippines is over 7,000 islands. So when you work, it's a serious ordeal. So they're working from home.
Yeah.
They're making more money. They want to perform.
Yeah.
And it's not that way everywhere. Like we're even down to the place, like if they live over here in the Philippines, we're not going to hire them.
Why?
Like it's
Bad
very
internet,
specific
stuff like that, or
it's,
what?
you know how the island lifestyle in Hawaii?
Yeah.
It's kind of
on
the same.
island time.
Yeah.
They're on island time. They just like kind of show up when they show up. They'll not show up for a day. And if you're listening to this, you've had a VA, you're going to relate to this. They'll not show up for a day. And then later they'll say, oh yeah, I had a blackout. Well, was your phone powered up? Yeah. Well, why didn't you let me know? It's because they're kind of like, so then we're not hiring over there.
Yeah.
We're hiring here.
That's weird that you said that. I had a conversation with somebody yesterday that was telling me that, they've gone through VA after VA after VA, because then they say they're gone for 2 or 3 days and they say, oh, we had it's not a tsunami or they don't
cyclone or whatever it is.
Whatever, some tropical storm or some shit. And the power goes out for, a couple, 2 or 3 days or whatever. And it's like inconsistent. And sometimes they just don't ever come back or communicate or whatever. And I'm like,
so normal.
And I was like, that's weird. I'm like, that's not the experience that I've had. I said, the only annoyance that I've had with Fred is that he's 10 minutes early every day and I'm out in my run. And he's like, morning guys. And it's like it's like 7:50. It's not 8 o'clock. You're supposed to come in at 8, fool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then like he goes from 8 to 4 and he's like, morning guys, like 7:50, like clockwork, 10 minutes early. And then, I mean, shit, dude, you can't even find that shit in the US, bro.
Well, the thing is, if you go
and then
hire,
he works 10 minutes late. He's like,
right. Always. If you hire somebody for the minimum wage, you're going to get minimum wage work. And so us amazing Americans are like, oh, we can get a VA for $4 an hour. Well, you're getting the $4 an hour work.
Yeah.
And so, yes, the dollar is very strong there, and we have a lot of leverage. And go ahead and try that. In fact, my very first VA was that. But I have a degree in psychology. I'm very into behavioral psychology, and I have a master's degree in education. I'm very good at teaching. I'm very good at that behavioral, and so I'm really good at teaching somebody. I was able to bring them up through, but most people don't have those skills or the patience for that.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when they get somebody that literally is just waiting for direction. So that's the difference. You got the person that's just waiting for you to tell them what to do. And then you got the person that says, tell me the big scope. And then I'm going to go.
Dude, I saw something like 2 days ago that said your problem is you hire people that you have to manage. You hire down versus hiring up. You need to learn how to hire people that manage themselves.
Absolutely.
And take initiative. And the reason why you're dealing with what you're dealing with in your business, the stress level that you have, there's going to always be problems. If you're an entrepreneur, congratulations. You just went into an industry that has forever issues or problems. The amount of issues and problems that you deal with will be on the back of the people that you surround 100%. Yourself with, right? So if you have all the issues and the problems, plus you're having to manage the people that are bringing you all the issues and problems versus hiring up, and those individuals that you hire are dealing with half of the issues or problems for you and only bringing up the high level stuff, then that makes your life a lot easier, right? And so that's spot on, especially with Fred. I mean, he's just taking the initiative.
You guys had Dan Martell on just recently, correct? Yeah. So in his book, he talks about this stuff, when to pay for someone to do something. Yeah. He said 80% done by someone else is 100% awesome.
Yeah.
So he's saying like the 80% of the productivity or the level that they're doing compared to your 100% is great.
Yeah.
And I've found, I agree, I subscribe to that. But what I found is that because I'm a doer and a lot of business owners are just in the weeds or doing things, when I found that I'm going to create my process, I'm going to share it. So I shoot a Loom video. Hey, here's how I'm doing it. I talk, and then they take that and create an SOP. When I did that, this is when you're at another level, is when my team would come back to me and say, this is awesome. Here's the SOP. I made another version because I did a little research, and we'll save about 15 minutes per time, and we'll save money because we don't have to subscribe to this. And I'm like, I look at it, yeah, that's better than what I was doing. And that happens all the time. And so you give autonomy, you give trust, and then they can take actually what I was doing and do it better, because as a business owner or a manager or whatever your role is, you're going all these different directions. And now you've got someone who's taking ownership and saying, oh, no, that's awesome. I'll do it that way. But can we consider this way?
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I've seen over and over again.
Bringing options to the table rather than just,
save money, save time, or it's just a better product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, how did you get into this industry? Because it's kind of a unique
Podcasting.
Okay.
So very interesting story. I was consulting for a fitness software / service company, and I was basically their integrator doing all the stuff. They were creating this program and I was selling it, creating the onboarding, the customer service, the customer training. And I just had always been this guy that'll just keep working. And I work super efficiently.
Yeah.
And I was doing all of these things for the company. And then I started a podcast, and the owner of the company was talking with me, and he's really big into productivity. So I became a productivity nerd as a result of this, but he's really into productivity. He said, Scott, you're incredible. You just get stuff done. You like, it's amazing. The problem is you just keep adding things to your plate. So you just keep working longer and longer and longer. He said, you need a VA. And the next thing he said was, it kind of made me mad, but now I understand what he was doing. He said, but you'll never be successful at it. It's really hard, and it's hard to find good talent. So I'm like, well, screw you. And so I went and did the research. I did all the research. I took a master class. I started watching courses, and I started putting together all of these pieces of data on all these people saying, this is how you hire a VA. Then I called people who, because I was kind of running this mastermind for fitness owners all over the world, and they're all like, VAs don't work, Scott. We've tried it. It's a nightmare. So I started interviewing them and asking them what went wrong. And so I found all these pieces that went wrong, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready. And I went in and I found my first VA. I hired her salary right out of the gates. I only had like 5 hours of work the first time, and I'm like, I need you to take care of my podcast because I just can't do this, right? Yeah. And she started doing that. I'm like, oh, do you have more time? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, here's a report I have to pull every week. And then I had her starting creating SOPs. I'm like, let's do some standardized operating procedures. She started putting those together, and I'm like, hey, to the company, here's our SOPs. They're like, oh, wow, this is really great. 3 months later, 3 full-time VAs for me. Wow. My problem is I kept filling all my time, because I was identifying as this guy that got things done. So now I'm creating, like, there's 4 full-time people working for this company. I'm not getting paid more. They're like, this is amazing, right? So talking to other business owners that all said this doesn't work, I finally had a really good friend of mine say, can I just use yours? Because I think you just found a special person.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't it. Because then I'm like, well, this is how you do it. And he paid me. It was more than I was paying the VA per month. I'm like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And then it just rolled from there and started. And it's just been a wild ride. And I just get so much joy out of helping. Well, one, business owner seeing the power of leveraging other people so that I could stay in my working genius and also start to understand that my identity is not in all of the things I do. You guys hear this all the time. We heard it at a mastermind that you guys just ran. Someone's like, well, I do all this, and this, and this, and my business partner doesn't do this. I'm like, your identity is in getting a bunch of stuff done. Yeah. That's stupid, dude. Like, you're so much more than just a get things done guy. Yeah. So do you need to be working 100 hours a week? Maybe when you start up, but that's not a lifestyle. Well, it's a certain kind of lifestyle. It's not one I wanted to live. It's one I lived, and at the sacrifice of my family.
Yeah.
And I was able to take that and take some time, refocus, and understand that I needed to do the things that gave me energy. So I kind of did a self audit. What do I really love doing? And that's what I do in this business now. Everything else is run by my team. So that first company that I created is 30 minutes a week for me to run that business. The entire business is run by my Filipino team. I spend 30 minutes a week.
With that lady that was on our call?
No, different. It's different. With my manager there, we meet every week. We talk about what's going on, and it's just taken care of. This one, hire a VP. I hired one person, gal, taught her everything I know. She came on every Zoom I had, every sales call, every meeting, every coaching, every interview, everything I did, because I was just doing this, right? And she came in and she learned, she shadowed me, read every email I had come in, read every email I sent out. So she knew how I acted. She knew how I talked. She knew all the caveats to the business. And then I'm like, okay, what can you take from me? And she just started taking things.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I can answer all these emails. And we kind of came up with a system for that. And then I can start interviewing people the first time, and then you can do it. We'll do it together here. Before I knew it, she had so many SOPs created and she was overwhelmed. And I'm like, guess what? Now you get to pick from all those SOPs, which ones you don't want to do. We're going to put them together. We're going to create a job title and we're going to hire for that.
Yeah.
And then we just repeat. So she keeps hiring people for the company.
Yeah.
And so I get to do what I love to do. Talk to business owners. Just
help solve problems,
kind of the higher level stuff, network, and coach my clients.
Did you take the visionary integrator test yourself?
I'm a hybrid. I'm right in the middle.
Yeah. I was gonna say you're
pretty high
You're one of
integrator.
those rare boths.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Short people are cool.
I think it's the short. I think you have to be under 5 foot to have 5'8" to have those.
Well, I mean, if you guys want to join our 5'8" and under group,
it's another level to the mastermind.
The reason they said they like me so much is because there's actually a different level of the mastermind that we're talking about.
Yeah,
most
you guys
people don't know about.
Right now, there's 3 members. And you're
Short kings, you know?
Yeah, short kings. Yeah, that's what it's called. But if you want to apply, go to shortkings/RBO. Now that's super cool that you one had a problem, you solved your own problem, you saw that, okay, I can do this at a high level, and then you solved a friend's problem. Right. And made some money, right? And then turned it into a business. What would you say is your biggest struggle, or has been your biggest struggle, that you wish you would have adjusted sooner, right? I mean, that's literally, we just talked about how every business deals with problems and issues and struggles and headaches. And regardless, even if you have everything perfect, like, you're a business owner, like there's nothing such thing as perfect, because there's this thing called humans. Once you add the human element, humans are so up and down and left and right, or, they live on emotion. Right? If they're having a bad day, they can create a bad experience for a customer, and then that customer can complain or whatever it is, right? So there's so many different variables, but what's a piece of advice there that you have?
I've got a couple.
Yeah.
Number one was I had to get out of my own way.
Okay.
I had to.
What does that mean?
That means that I did not believe in myself. I never thought big enough.
Okay.
And so this is going to be a little plug, quite unsolicited plug, is get in a group of people who see what you have available, who you really are. So I'm sitting here doing this VA thing, and I'm not hardly charging anything. And I'm struggling. We talked about that earlier. I'm struggling. The revenue's low. And I sat down with this guy that got to know me, that was in a mastermind with me. And he looked at me and he says, okay, tell me what you charge. And I told him, because he wanted a VA, and he's like, like, what do you mean? No. He goes, Scott, I don't want a VA. I want a VA, and I want you as part of the package. I want your help. He's like, do you like giving people help? I'm like, that's what I thrive on. I love coaching. I love teaching. He's like, so tell me your price. I said, again, he's like, nope. Tell me your price. And I was like, God, I felt like that was way too much.
Yeah.
But I was lowballing everything so low, because I had this limiting mindset myself. And he got to a point, he said, now double it. And I said, okay. And so he's pitched it to me. I told him, he's like, all right, let's go. And then he told me, you're thinking too small. You don't believe in yourself. I can tell you don't believe in yourself, but I believe in you. So I went and did the same thing with the next call. I didn't do the same conversation. I just pitched it. Wait, he
At
said
that
to
price
pitch
point,
it.
yeah.
Not even a blink of an eye. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
Third, let's go. Fourth, all right, where do I sign? Fifth, where do I sign? Sixth, a little friction, right? So you go through this thing. And so undersold myself. And I think a lot of business owners probably do that. You have to have so much belief in yourself and the product that you're offering. And you have to know that your value is like probably well above what you're charging. Depends on the business, of course, right?
Yeah.
There's businesses. I'm still under the industry standard. Did some research. I'm like, man, I'm still under the industry standard for this type of service.
Yeah.
And that's a learning lesson. And so that was number one.
So hit up Scott now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lock in those prices.
For sure.
Yeah.
Number two is taking on clients I shouldn't have taken on.
Yeah.
And that was the friction I went through probably 2 months ago. I was really struggling and my team was really struggling. I finally stopped and said, guys, we're all stressed out. What's going on? And they're like, these people are 90% of our workload. They're whining, they're complaining about everything. They want us to, we do training for the
It's
VP
like the 80-20 rule. 80% of the problems are coming from 20% of the people. Or whatever. Yeah.
And not all money's good money.
Yeah.
And so I gave back a lot of money a couple months ago. And people would not let me fire them. Have you ever done, you try to fire someone? They're like, no, no, you don't understand. This isn't an option. No,
you were hoping like, hey, what do you want to do? We can refund you. No.
Yeah. No, they don't want to go. I'm like, look, you come to me like you aren't enjoying the process. And I have to work with people who are enjoying the process. If you're not enjoying the process, I'm not delivering the value or the product that you need. Like that's the way I approached it. It worked. But that was like, don't say yes to bad business. Just know your avatar, know your client, know your values. And the minute someone said, well, it's not worth X, Y, and Z dollars. And I'm like, okay. I said, I literally told a client this a couple months ago. I said, you know what you just told me? Because she wouldn't let me fire her. I said, you just told me that I'm not worth the money that you're paying. She's like, no, but I'm paying I'm like, you're paying me too. And so that tells me that we're not on the same level. Yeah. And so that's a hard lesson to learn. And a lot of money went out the door those 2 months, but it opened up so much. My team was like just on fire after that. Like, thank you. And now I'm just telling people no. I get on the phone. I ask them a series of questions. I'm like, you know what? We're not the service for you.
Yeah. And that's okay.
I've had people pissed.
That's okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a good lesson though.
Yeah.
I mean, we started out at charging $99 a month for our bookkeeping. And we had to take on the cost of the actual software. But at first we were just like, okay, let's see. And we're like, man, if we have 1,000 clients, that's $100,000 a month.
Yep.
You know, that's what, but I mean,
making $1 each.
Yeah. We can profit 1,000, you know? And so like after a few years of banging our head against the wall and probably losing $500,000 or more, you know, trying to build and grow it, you know, we reached out to somebody and hired a coach and he says, well, up your prices.
Yeah.
And we went to like $249 and got just as many yeses. And then we went to $349 and then like $499 or whatever. And what you realize is, the customer gets what they pay for when they pay for more. Guess what? That's more money for the entrepreneur to hire greater talent, right? So greater talent means better service, better quality, right? And so if you're dealing with issues on fulfillment side is the fact that maybe the type of people that you have in your company aren't the type of caliber of people that are going to be able to deliver the service, probably because you're paying too low, right? You don't have the revenue to support bringing in A players or whatever it is to be able to bring up the quality of service so that you could, back up the price that you're, but eventually you've got to start charging the price so that you could start backfilling and creating, a great experience with those A players, right?
Yeah.
And so when we started doing that, I mean, It was the same as like, remember like there was a marketing campaign where we're like, hey, let's do like 6 months of free bookkeeping and then $99 a month. It was so cheap that nobody trusted it. It's almost like the Walmart cell phone deal thing, right? Like, why don't we all have a Walmart cell phone for $40 a month? Because it's so cheap. Why? I don't want 10-piece chicken nuggets for 99 cents. Right. I'm like, are they even fucking chicken nuggets, dude? What the hell? How? That's not even possible to feed for, I got chickens, that it don't work like that. And so it's like, I would rather go to Chick-fil-A and pay, $6.99 or $7.99 for chicken nuggets, because then I feel better about what I'm putting into my body, even if it's sixes. Maybe they order it from the same damn place. I don't know. I just feel better about it. But the quality of customer that you get in return for a higher price is a better experience for your company and for your employees. And there's more opportunity for your employees to make more and for you to bring in higher grade talent.
Absolutely.
Right?
Early in our first agency, I did a sales call with a guy, and we were charging $1,000 a month. It was 4,000 startup back then. This is a different service.
Yeah.
And it was $1,000 a month. And we're basically an open source. You just send us stuff, we do it. Like we're just going to do video editing, podcast editing, admin work, social media management, like everything. We'll do anything you want. It's $1,000 a month. And
that's cheap.
Right. I got back on the phone with the guy. I'm like, hey, following up. He's like, well, I went with someone else. I'm like, okay, I'd love to know why. For the same service, actually less, they were $10,000. You can't be good if you're only $1,000. He paid $10,000 a month for a service that provided less than what we paid it because we were too cheap.
Yeah.
That was an interesting lesson to learn.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn it because I never raised the prices.
I can totally relate to that though. Like I personally do that. I'm just like, I won't pay the cheapest shit. It's like, so I know like that's not going to be as valuable.
But for me, like that's the client I want. I want that client who's like, no, I'm not going on the cheapest route.
Yeah.
I'm looking for value. I'm looking for ease. I'm looking like we take care of all the stuff, right? You're going to train and work with your VP because they're your person. They are dedicated to you. I cannot train them in your business. Like I can train them on the soft skills and the communication. We do that. But I can't train them on your business. But we take all the other stuff off so it's the business owners. Like I just need that person. You take care of all the weird stuff with working with people overseas, paying bonuses, all, and then rehires and building my team bigger. And that's the type of client now that we're focused on. And it's easier than I ever expected to figure that out in a pretty quick call.
Yeah. When we moved into our office like 8 years ago, we had one of our business partners buy all refurbished computers because they were like $200 or something, and he's like, dude, they're great versus $500. They're $199 or whatever. A year later, we had to buy all new computers. Yeah. And so the cheap route ended up being the most expensive route because we ended up having to spend all the money that we would have normally spent on new computers, plus the $10,000 that we spent on all the refurbished ones. And then they stood in a storage closet for like 3 or 4 years. And I think we donated them to a school or something like that, like kids that take them apart and redo them or whatever, right? So that's just a lesson that...
Poor guy. He never lived that one down for at least a couple of years.
Oh, I'm sure you guys...
Here we are. We're talking about it still, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like 5 years later, 6 years later.
You brought something up earlier, one of you, the cost of hiring, training, rehiring, and training. My buddy Brian Alexander talks about this. He's for corporation, it's almost $200,000. So when you bring this is a corporation, bigger company, right? They have a big training,
a big exec or
when
something. When you
bring the wrong person in, you're losing so much money.
Yeah.
You're losing so just do it right the first time.
Yeah.
And so if you go cheap,
that's hard to do for a startup though. A startup, they and that's what's so weird, because I think about that sometimes, and it's like a startup, they've got, $3,000 in their account, but yet they want to start marketing. And so then they hire the cheapest marketing company, and then it doesn't do, most people have hired 2 or 3 or 4 different marketing companies to try to find the right marketing company, but they start at the lowest price point, and then they try another low price point, and then they slowly build it up to the point where like, man, if I would have just said yes to the one that was whatever, $5,000 a month, it's so there's this weird delicate balance of like reserving funds as a startup and trying to be smart, but at the exact same time getting quality. And that's a difficult and delicate balance for any business that's one cash strapped, that's just trying to get clients, needs to grow so that they have revenue so that they can support a higher quality service. So it's like, it is tough. It's a tough balance, right?
I think you got to be creative. I have a buddy who is in marketing and does e-commerce marketing. He's a savage. Yeah. And he only works with companies he likes their products. Like that is it. Like if you have a gun company, he's all in. If you have a car company, he's all in. Coffee, all in. But like, so he had a client like that, and they were small and kind of homegrown, and they needed him. Mm-hmm. Can't afford him. He's really good. So he says like, hey, look, let's do a little equity. Mm. He took him, I don't know, like under 100,000 a year in sales to millions and millions and millions, and like just absolutely exploded the company. They had nothing out of pocket at first. Yeah. Just, hey, I'll like, and now he's making bank with them. They're making massive money. So creativity goes a long way. So understanding that there's more than one way to kind of peel that onion.
100% of struggle's your struggle. So if you want to stay, where you're at, then keep 100% of your business, and that's literally what we've done over the last few years, is like, okay, what does it take to bring in the best? What does it take to relieve ourselves and also get somebody in there that cares about your business the way that you care about your business?
It's hard to do.
And and look, they're going to deal with problems. So the only way you're going to relieve yourself of problems is potentially bringing somebody in that also has a piece of the pie to where they're going to want to deal with that level of problems, so that they treat it like it's their own, because it is, right?
But you had to sell them. You had to sell them on the vision of the company, where it's going, what the upside for them was, right? So like even with me, my entire team is from the Philippines, entire. And so I have the gal you met, Chloe. She is bought into my vision. Mm. She sees my vision. In fact, I even had an idea. Like 5 months ago, I had this idea. I'm like, oh, this is a really good idea for kind of an offshoot. And she goes, we need to build this empire first. She literally stopped me because she has the vision of what we're doing.
She's put you in your tracks. She's like, stop in your tracks.
Yep.
Don't get ahead of yourself, Mr. Idea Guy.
That's, you can, but that's because core values were huge for me. Like, here's the core values, here's the vision, here's the mission. And then repeating it, living it, driving it home. Those money's one thing. Money will motivate people. But when you don't have a lot of money, you got to have those other things in line.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because they will really drive your team in the same direction.
You buy them with a dollar or with a dream, is what you're saying?
That's right.
Sometimes both.
Yeah. Hopefully both. Hopefully low dollar at first, high dollar later.
Yeah. That's kind of how we've done it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Saying, right, man, we hope it ends up being here. This is the goal. We think that you're the person to help make that happen. So, bro, appreciate you coming out and coming on, dude.
What an honor.
Break
in the podcast studio, man.
Yeah,
it's great. It's amazing here.
First and foremost.
Sounds like we'll have a different table soon, but
well, a lot of things will be.
I think it looks fine.
A lot of things will be a little bit different. I mean, it's a little tight, a little this. I'm like, why don't we put chairs or something right here and make it a little bit more loungy and chill with the boomstick,
Oh, but we'll everybody's leaning back in their leather chairs. And boom,
I don't know. I've been on podcasts when it's like just chilling on a couch and it's like, okay, it's like a couch conversation, right?
Yep.
But then there's also something cool about throwing your arms up on a table and just,
I'm a leaner.
Like
me too.
Getting into a conversation like we're at a conference room table or something, so
get some stuff done.
Yeah, slowly but surely it's coming together. How do people connect with you if they want to get a virtual professional? And I'm telling you guys, if you've ever considered it, thought about it, had a dream about it, I would at least reach out to him about it. Mm-hmm. And the reason being is because you don't understand the wide variety. I didn't understand. And, we've been in the game for 13 years. Kale's like 17 years or whatever it is now, as a business owner. And so it's just like things have evolved, things change. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing with virtual professionals or assistants, whatever you want to call it. First off, what's the name of the company, website? How do they connect with you if they want to inquire about some of the services that you're able to, help outsource?
Yeah, so the website's VA Media Machine because that's the old name. The new name's Hire VP. I don't have that website built out in process. So I'm like a Facebook guy.
One of your VPs are building out your website. Says
we have an incredible bank of really amazing individuals.
Yeah,
so,
it's on the way.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But hire. So I'm a Facebook guy. So Scott Rammage, 2 M's on Facebook. You can find me, message me, Scott@mediamachine.info. Carrier Pigeon,
Instagram,
Scott Rammage.
Scott Rammage.
Yeah.
We'll put all that in the show notes in the bio just so that you guys can find it, locate him. And if you need it, you can send us a DM and, we can point you in the right direction as well.
I just like my goal, and I think a lot of people say this, my goal is when I get on a call with you is to leave you with an action plan, whether it's me or not.
I actually wanted to ask that, and I know we don't have to go all into it, but it's like I know I'm the type sometimes where I'm like, okay, I'm just buried. And I need someone to kind of like help me figure out like, not only so if someone comes to you and they're like, I need help with this, and you're like, cool, we can find that. Or if someone come to you and they're like, I don't know, I'm just drowning. Can you help me figure out what I need help with that I can have them take off my plate? Like, are you guys help facilitate that type of stuff too?
Because I've been there.
Yeah.
So, that's why I really still like doing the sales and the coaching.
Yeah.
Because I've been there. I can relate at such a high level. So yeah, it's that process kind of winds its way into a formula that I put together.
Cool.
Yeah. And again, like if it's, I had somebody the other day is like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm like, hey, like, why don't you know? And she told me, I'm like, okay, I have a resource for you.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah. Well, I just know there's a lot of people that probably be like, man, I probably could use help, but like, I don't even know where to start.
Most people don't know what they need. And that is my job.
Yeah.
I'm very good at saying, okay, let's take a look at your business. Where are you finding you're getting stuck? There was a guy, chiropractic business. I love how we shut this out and now we're going forward.
Yeah, I don't care.
Business.
Yeah,
and
we've had that happen a few times.
Oh yeah. He's like, I do this, I got this. I just sat there and asked him questions about his whole how does your client come in? What do they do? How do you get your clients? How do you chase your clients? And I found this hole. And he's like, oh, I'm really bad at that. So you don't follow up with any of the leads that come in from what you're paying? He's like, no, we're fine. We're getting enough. I'm like, so nobody's following up. What about past clients who've been in once and never came back? Because I know you have a recurring thing. He's like, oh yeah, he's like, I just hate that stuff. I don't know how to do it. I'm like, I know where we need to start.
Yeah.
And boom, we're off to the races. So a lot of people come in completely overwhelmed. And people are just shouting from the mouth, you got to get a VA, you got to get, that's not for everyone, by the way. I will tell people this is not for you, but I'll listen and I can start pinpointing areas. And sometimes I'm like, you need 6 VAs, but this is where we need to start. Right. So that's a really good question because a lot of people just don't even know what's possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kale's wife was cutting Kayla's hair and we didn't have an assistant and we never really like an actual assistant, not a virtual professional. Right. And it's nobody ever they take pride in just taking everything on. Yeah. You don't ever like, if that wasn't pushed kind of in our direction by Kaylee, Kale's wife, like you were like, whatever. Yeah. Let's entertain, like, let's sit down with her. She came to the conference room now, man. And then she does an absolute amazing job and takes a whole load off of our shoulders. Right. And so it's like, but we didn't even say, oh man, it almost feels weak. Like I need help, and
I think you hit the nail on the head.
And entrepreneurs are so prideful that it's like, I just don't want to be weak and say, hey, we might need help in this area or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Sometimes you don't even know what you don't need or what you do need. And then when you finally get it, you're like, holy shit, I should have done this 2 years ago. Like Brianna in our mastermind, it was the same thing. When they came in and I was like, my first goal for you is to make sure that you have an assistant. And then she's like, no, I'm good. Whatever. Within 3 months, she had an assistant. She's like, man, it's made my life a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
And so it's whether it's an assistant, whether it's a virtual professional. I mean, a lot of people listening will probably use both, but at the end of the day, the virtual professional thing has been like, again, we're only a couple of weeks into it, and it's like, dude, holy cow! Like it opens up your mind to a whole new world of possibilities of like, what else could you do? Because it's not necessarily you having to do it all, right? So now you want your mind to wander and explore a little bit and be like, man, if we had somebody doing this or this or this, then, but it's all this machine that's out here that's just kind of built doing it. And then you kind of just keep doing what you were doing that you're great at, as Scott alluded to earlier. But anyways, I'm sure we can keep
guys, thank you very much for this.
No, it's good. It's a good podcast. Reach out to Scott, guys. He's just a good human being, good man, good father, good husband, good business owner, just a good individual to have in your ecosystem in general. Thank him for, sharing his wisdom on the podcast, and reach out to him for virtual professional services, even if you don't think that you need it. Because he'll show you where you can leverage it and use it and need it. Other than that, share the podcast, rate the episode, keep kicking ass, guys. We'll see you next week.
Peace.